Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? Just another little Tales from the Kitchen video. This one is going to be about the worst employers I'd ever worked for in terms of independent businesses. And when I say worst, these people were the cheapest, rudest, ignorant pieces of trash I'd ever worked with. Probably almost ever known. I mean, I've known some pretty shitty people, but these people were people I'd known and worked for quite a few years, and they were, well, garbage, human garbage. That's the best way I can describe them, and not trying to sound too rude. So a little backstory before I start getting into them specifically. They originally had other business partners. Actually, I don't want to say they, because it's a husband and wife team, and I don't want to say they. The wife had nothing to do with it. She worked there. She was an employee. She was not the owner. The owner was her bag of trash husband. So anyway, backstory. I worked for their partners at a previous restaurant. This restaurant was called, what was it called? Oh, wow, it's been so long. It was called Ristorante Luna. That's what it was. It's called Ristorante Luna. Actually, hold on a second. I think I got a souvenir. Okay, I'm back. And did you miss me in that split second that I was gone? But yeah, I do have a souvenir here from that first restaurant. It was called Ristorante Luna. I have a pack of matches, a matchbook. There. A little bit blurry for some reason. Focus. Focus, bitch. I don't know. It's not focusing. Unless it's just, let me put on my weird old man glasses that I found. And, well, I'm going to hold it here for a second. Don't try and call that number because it won't be them. And I probably should have covered it up to begin with. But anyway, yeah, that's it there. I guess that's as in focus as it's going to get the way I have the camera set. But anyway, that's not the restaurant I'm going to be talking about in a second. But that's kind of where it started. And so his partners owned that, and his wife worked at that restaurant as a waitress, and, well, a waitress, I guess, I don't know, server. And once in a while, her husband, who later became their business partner, he would work there occasionally. He started at like places like Jack Astor's and chain restaurants like that. He really had no understanding of how independent restaurants work and how you treat your staff, but I'll get to that in a minute. So what happened is eventually they bought a second restaurant, and the people that owned that restaurant partnered up with him, well, more him and his father. And his father was a nice guy, though. I never really knew him too much outside of the business, but he always came in. He was like a silent partner, but he would show up every once in a while for something to eat. He was always friendly. He was always a decent guy. So I don't know where the son came from, but anyway, they bought that restaurant, and then eventually they bought it, not including this one guy, the two other partners, they went and bought a third restaurant, and he bought them out. So anyway, he was the sole owner, him and his father, I suppose. And after they left, it was just him, and I don't mind, I will say right away, I won't say their last names, but their name was Chris and Teresa, and they were the biggest scumbag pieces of shit I have ever worked with. Greedy, racist, homophobic, you name it. They would openly say they were, but they'd make comments here and there that would say something. We had a lot of Sri Lankan guys in the kitchen, which is kind of common in a lot of restaurants. And they treated them like second class, talked down to them, talked to them like they're stupid because their English wasn't so good. It's like, well, you know what? Go to Sri Lanka, you learn their language and see how you sound to them over there, and we'll see who's stupid then. But anyway, so we had some chefs that, went through the place, and I wasn't the chef at the time. I was a line cook and then became sous chef at this restaurant and went on from there. But so anyway, one chef, there's two people that worked there that I couldn't stand that were in the kitchen. There was this guy, I don't mind saying his name was Ali, and this other guy, Raj. And they would talk shit behind my back all the time. The reason I know is one time the bathroom was in the kitchen, like you didn't have to leave the kitchen to go to the staff washroom. So I would be in there. I was in there one time changing, and they thought I'd left, and I can hear them talking. And then I came out, and they looked at me, and they're like, oh, you were in there? I'm like, yeah, and I heard you. No, oh, no, we were just joking. We knew you were in there and whatever. Anyway, this restaurant was called The Groat on Main, and I do have a matchbook for that place too. This is back when you could smoke in restaurants, and it was very common for them to have matches with their business on it. Now, as far as I know, that restaurant is still there, but it's different owners. So don't judge that restaurant based on this video. It's different owners, different people. So if you want to check it out, check it out. I hope the menu's improved since the way they left it when I left the place. But anyway, that being said, so Ali quits. This Raj guy takes over as chef. Then he gets hurt. So now I'm basically running the whole kitchen by myself. Unwillingly. I think I was 24 at the time too, so I was still a kid, and they wouldn't hire anybody. I kept telling them, you got to hire staff, you got to hire a new chef. And he's like, well, why can't you do it? I'm like, I was literally getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning every single day. They would not lift a finger to help me. They would not hire anyone to help me, and they wouldn't pay the other staff extra to stick around and help me. And they couldn't understand why I was angry all the time. And they would come in and say, why isn't this ready? Why I'm by myself? And then he would say, well, why are you getting other people to do it? I'm a line cook, dude. I'm not your chef, and I'm doing all the ordering. I'm doing all the chef jobs. I knew how to do it, but that wasn't my job. And then finally I said, dude, if I'm doing all these extra hours, you got to give me more money until you hire somebody. So what does he do? He gives me $200 more a week, $200, and I'm working essentially 100 hours a week, roughly. It's unreal. But anyway, that's just the shit that they were pulling about that. But just their attitude in general. I'd be trying to prep something. They'd come in the kitchen. You're making too much noise. Like I'm cutting mushrooms. Like, do you have to do that now? You know, and I'm like, when do you want me to do it? You know, can you do it after service? I'm like, what do you mean do it after service? I'm going home after service. I have a life. So he just kept hounding me about shit like that. And like I said, this might not sound that bad just hearing about it, but they were scumbags. And they wouldn't come in the kitchen to help me at all. Like they would show up, I would show up in the morning, they would show up whenever 11 and then set up their dining room shit. And then they would disappear because everyone did splits then. So which means, if you don't know what that is, you'd show up at 11, you leave around 2 or 3, and then you go on a break, and then you come back 4 or 5, 6, whatever time you start again, and then work to the end. To me, it's a ridiculous system, and I will never do that again. And places where they've told me that they need to do that, I've said, no, I'm not doing that. But anyway, so there was no tip outs or anything from them. There was no extra bonuses or anything like that. They were just straight up cheap. And then, like I said, they would never lift a finger to help me. They would do absolutely nothing. Didn't give a shit about the kitchen. Traded the kitchen staff like we were all stupid. Now, don't get me wrong. I could have quit any time, which would have been the smart thing to do. Or not even quit. Fuck it. I should have just left one day. Find the busiest Saturday, waited, tons of reservations. Come in early, don't do any prep, sit around, drink some beers, and then just leave. Not even tell them I left, just leave. I think, to me, that would have been the ultimate, to them, but I didn't. I was young, I was naive, and I was just waiting it out. And to give you an idea of how much of a princess, because she was a serious princess, she was, just a little off story. There was a bar a couple blocks away. This was in Markham, which is a city just east of Toronto. And a little bar, it was called the Blue Haze, I think. And we used to go there after work. And I'd only seen her there once. And so she's there with all her little friends, all her friends, and they're sitting in this one section. The way the place was, it was kind of like one section here and whatever. Anyway, that's not important. So they're all sitting there on chairs. How's Princess Teresa sitting? She's got a bar stool sitting right there, and she's perched on top of the bar stool, and they're all kind of sitting there, and she plops herself right in the middle. Like, I don't know what the cat just did, but she's so much more important to everybody. And I saw her, so I came over and was friendly, and I said hi, and I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? She's like, hi, yeah, what do you want? And I'm just like, and at this point I had known her for probably about 7 years, 6, 7 years. I wasn't just some fucking stranger coming up to her. And I'm just saying hi, and she goes, okay. And I'm like, and I just kind of looked at her, I go, what's your problem? Like, I can't say hi to you or something like that? Like what the fuck is wrong with you? So anyway, that was, this was a little while later too. Like this is, when, towards when actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong. This was a little bit earlier. Some other shit happened since then, but she could not hold a friendship. It's interesting because she would have a new friend. They'd hang around for a couple months. Sometimes they'd even work in the restaurant, usually as a bartender. And then sometimes I'd say, why are you friends with her, man? She's a snob. No, she's nice and this and this and this. And like, and then 2 months later, that person would just be gone. And then Teresa would be like, well, she was a bitch. I didn't want to hang out with her anymore. And then there'd be this new friend. And so many times, because they all lived in the same area, I'd run into them. I go, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. And then they'd tell me how much of a bitch and how I was right when I said, Teresa's a bitch. Don't be friends. Just watch her. She's going to stab you in the back or do something. So, and I don't run into these people every once in a while. And they'd always say, yeah, you were right. You're right. This and this and this. So, but she was also the kind of person too, that if she thought you did something, even if you didn't do it, said something about her, she would argue with you like you did. There was one time I was in the kitchen joking around about something with somebody, and she comes in the kitchen, what did you say? And we just kind of looked like at each other, like, oh, we're talking about you. This has nothing to do with you. She goes, I heard my name. Like, you didn't hear it from us then, because we didn't mention your name. We're not talking about anything. And she argued and went and got the owner, her husband. And he's like, what did you say to her? Why is she so mad? Like, we didn't say shit about her. We have no idea why she's so mad. But anyway, there's one time that was actually really funny. We had a chef there, and I'm going to do a video about him. His name was Dave. And he was a bit of a bully. He was about 6'3". He was a big guy, right? And yeah, he was a bit of a bully. So one time we were joking around. I was on one side, he was on the other. The side I was on, there's a wall behind me, and then the door over here leading out into the dining room was a swinging door. So he throws a tomato at me, and just the angle he threw it, I ducked, and we didn't know that she was on the other side of the door. The door was propped open, and she was standing there, and it ricochets off the door, splats all over her back while she's talking to a customer. And then she comes in. She's so mad, and she's yelling at me. I go, I didn't do it. What do you think? I went and threw a tomato at you? And then Dave's like, I threw the tomato. I meant to hit him, but stupid asshole duck. He's kind of trying to blame it on me, even though he's the one that threw it. And she's yelling at us. I was talking to a customer. What if it hit the customer? All this. And then she stormed out of the kitchen. And then the second she walked out, we just burst out laughing because it was funny, just the way she was carrying on, this woman. But anyway, moving ahead. So they bought everybody out. This guy Raj and this guy Ali, they were gone, and then now it's all me. So I'm doing all the ordering, I'm doing all this and that, and they're underpaying me. So eventually they hired this chef. This guy, I don't mind saying his name. His name was Franco. Not to be mixed up with another Frank that I may have mentioned in other videos. There's Frank and there's Franco. Franco's a good guy. Franco's a piece of shit. And he was racist, bigoted. Like, he got into fistfights in the kitchen. I remember one time, me and him got at it, and I picked up a wine bottle. I was ready to smash him across the face with the wine bottle. That's how angry I got with him. Like, I had it over my head, and I was just like this, and then he backed off. But anyway, he was super cheap, like in terms of how he made things. The food tasted good, but then before then we were making all our own manicottis, lasagnas, cannellonis, meatballs. Everything was all made in-house. And then next thing you know, there's going to be a loud noise. There it is. He just knocked all his toys all over the floor. But everything started coming from Costco. All our dressings we used to make in-house were coming in jugs. The same shit you'd see at like Jack Astor's, or I guess. So I'm not knocking Jack Astor's. I just know that's where Chris used to work. So corporate places where everything comes in a jug. The meatballs came in a big bags. Like there'd be like 500 meatballs in these big frozen bags of meatballs. I'm like, this is what you're selling your customers now? So I said to him one day, I go, look, I'm going to quit. Why don't you make me a server? Because I'd rather work in front of house. You know, and I was saying, because this guy started fights with everybody. And he says to me, well, you got to learn to get along with people. I'm like, he's starting fights. You know, I'm going to quit. You have to learn to get along with people. So finally, the last straw was me and this chef again. I came in whatever time it was, and he said, "Oh, you're supposed to be here a half an hour earlier." And I said, "No, on this day I start at this time." And it was just me and him in the restaurant, and he's getting all tough guy on me. And now don't get, he wasn't a big guy. He's a little bit taller than me, but he wasn't like big or anything. He was just average guy. Cat's doing shit. But anyway. Okay. Anyway, so he comes at me and he's all tough. I picked up a metal insert, not to hit him with. I just picked it up and slammed it on the butcher block, or on the. It was actually on the salad stage. I slammed it down the salad, flung it on the floor. Walked up to him, said, "You want to do something about this?" And he backed off right away because he had no protection, and he's actually a big pussy. So then he stormed out of the kitchen, and he didn't come back in the kitchen. And then when the owners came, I literally walked up to Chris, said, 2 weeks, done. And that was it. I was like, fuck this place. And then skip ahead a couple weeks. They owed me a paycheck, and it was wintertime when I quit. So I called up the restaurant. I said, Teresa was on the phone, and I said, "Oh, hey, how's it going? You know, you got my last check there?" And she said, "No, no." She says, "It is." And then I go, "Well, it's Chris. There's a blizzard out. I don't have a car." So I'm just like, any chance Chris could just drop it off here? It was a couple miles away. It was about an hour walk to the restaurant, but a 5-minute drive. So I'm like, any chance he could drop it off, you know, just because it's winter. And I think I was moving too. I think that was part of the issue. And, you know, he'd be doing me a favor. And she's like, "No, he can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, you said he's just dropping something. That's what she's dropping something off and going back home." So basically he has to go by my house, go to the restaurant, and then go by my house again. You know, he's just going to be here anyway. Any chance? And she's like, no. So I wait a little while, and then I call back thinking, okay, Chris will probably be there by now. And there he was. He was on the phone with me, and I'm just like telling him, I'm like, "Dude, like, any chance you could?" "Well, Teresa said you were really rude and abrupt with her." I'm like, "I just asked if there's any way you can drop off my check since you got to come here anyway." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to talk to my wife that way," and whatever. So I ended up walking to the restaurant. It was snowing out and it was ridiculous, but I needed to grab that check. So I come in, I grabbed it, and I can't remember what I said to her, but it was a friendly way of saying, "You're a fucking cunt." You know, like what's wrong? What's your problem, man? Like, I hope I never see you again. And took it. Sadly, I did run into them a couple times here and there, but I never really had much to say to them. But the thing is, too, she acts like she's so good and so proper and everything. Her daughter, now I'm going to say her daughter's name because I got nothing against her daughter, but she has made a career of basically showing her naked ass, well, a thong ass all over the internet. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. A lot of people do it, and, you know, she possibly has an OnlyFans page. I don't know. But anyway, that's something she's doing. Now, if I were to tell Teresa years ago, "Oh, this is going to be what your daughter's doing for a living when she's older," she'd probably slap me in the face and say I'm an asshole. Now, I would show her this picture. She'd go, "Oh, well, it's modeling." It's like, no, it's showing her ass in a bikini on the internet. It's not modeling, you know. But I'm not going to say her name because, again, I got nothing against her. That's just a fact, what she's doing. There are other things I could probably mention in this. There's like a list. I could probably do a part 2 because I didn't actually write stuff down. I just kind of winged it because I'm bored. But yeah, this is if you want to hit that subscribe button, that would be really good. The place was called La Grota. It doesn't. Those owners don't own it anymore, so don't hate on that restaurant if you happen to pass it, if you're in Markham, and be like, "Oh, that's that place." You know, I don't think enough people are going to watch this video in this area anyway that matters, but if the people that own that restaurant just happen to see it, I have nothing against you or the restaurant as it is now. I was just, these particular owners are trash. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything off the top of my head I can think of that I can mention. Like I said, there's enough shit to do a part 2, but this video is running kind of long anyway, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, this is Tales from the Kitchen with Jack Ackman, and if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. I really want to bump it up a little bit higher, and I guess that's all I got to say at the moment, and until the next one, bye.